Hello, hockey fans from around the world. I am Richard Cote, the producer of the Pro Hockey News podcast. It is the second line edition of the podcast, and you know what that means? No, it's not that. No, not it would wait, go back to yep, that. It means that. It also means I am joined by the publisher of ProHockeyNews.com, Lou Lafredo. Lou, how are things back in the land of enchantment?
Land of Enchantment is a state of two environments. Eastern Plains have been in the single digits or below zero, while we here in the valley bask in the 67, 70-degree weather, shorts, hot tub, whatever you want to do. So
I,
that's New Mexico, right?
I'll gladly share the 6 inches of snow we just got yesterday.
Oh,
Would you like some of that?
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. Actually, we do. Listen, they put 240 goats out into the bosque
Nice.
to eat all of the native, all of the volunteer and infesting vegetation. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can use whatever we can get.
Well, I'll try and send it down that way.
Yeah.
It might take a little bit, exchange rate between Colorado and New Mexico.
Okay.
It's a whole thing there. We are also joined by our favorite snarky Canadian, Jacob Doherty. Jacob, how are things in Edmonton?
I feel vindicated.
I'm gonna have my finger on the mute button for you during this episode, just in case you go a little long. But
Yeah, you
why
know,
do you feel why do you feel vindicated, Jacob?
well, there's this thing that we didn't think was going to be a big deal called the Four Nations Cup. And as always, for some reason the Americans think that they're better than the Canadians at hockey. And then they're just proven wrong time and time and time and time again.
We did beat you the first time in the tournament.
Well, not when it matters.
I'm not taking sides, but I was singing "Oh Canada" last night.
Oh, of course. Everyone was.
Right. Oh, okay. We'll get going on the Four Nations tournament, as Jacob had just alluded to. And if you were living under a rock this past week, Canada did come away with gold. We'll have a little bit of a breakdown on that and reactions from of the Four Nations tournament. But I'd also like to introduce the return of the PHN intern. Hey, I rhymed and I didn't even mean to do that. Nicholas, how's it going?
It's going well. How about you guys?
Not too shabby. Are you also on cloud nine right now after last night's game?
I think I woke up my whole family.
That was quite a goal. We'll get going to that later in the episode. Listeners, this episode of the Pro Hockey News podcast is brought to you by My Custom Sports Chair. Head over to mycustomsportschair.com, enter in code PHN15 to save yourself 15% off of one of the sweetest chairs you will ever stick in your fan cave. Again, thanks to My Custom Sports Chair for sponsoring this episode of the Pro Hockey News podcast. Listeners, I usually have a rant at this point in the episode. I really don't this week. Maybe I'm disappointed with how sucked into the Four Nations tournament that I got. I didn't think I was going to, but it it provided some really quality hockey for a time when we didn't have any hockey because we needed to not have hockey to be prepared for next year when we don't have. Anyways, I got sucked into it and I really enjoyed it. It was really good. So I guess that would be my only rant, but you know what? It all ended well, so I can't be too upset about that. So, with that being said, I will let the pipes and the drums play me off. Lou, take me away to Bangers and Mash.
Hi, laddie. So I'm a bit intrigued that you didn't have any hockey because I'm sitting here. I had hockey for 2 weeks, and I needed a break, and I didn't get one.
Sorry,
So,
NHL hockey. Yes, yes.
oh yeah. Okay. So listen, since the last time we met 2 weeks ago, the Belfast Giants have clinched a playoff spot.
Ooh,
That's how far ahead Belfast Giants are. They're in the top spot of the EIHL standings this week. In fact, they won today. Um, They beat the Cardiff Devils and are so far undefeated against the Cardiff Devils this season. But they're coming away today with 61 points on the season through 40 games. The Sheffield Steelers have in fact pushed their way into the second spot, just 6 points back of the Giants. And the other one that has really been kind of fun for me, Nottingham Panthers are now solidly in the third spot with Cardiff Devils coming in the number four position. It has actually been a really good couple of weeks since last we met. Fife Flyers went through a coaching change. It has not really helped the results on the ice, but where it has helped up in Scotland are the Glasgow Clan, who have gone through now 6 wins in a row and are solidly above the cutoff line for the playoffs. So it's going to be a really interesting race towards the playoffs, and keep in mind that the playoffs are really just 2 weekends. It's over and done with in the EIHL. There's just not enough money really to be sending teams all over. So there's a host city for the final four, and that's where everything comes together in the final weekend. But in the meantime, it's been some really great hockey. Like I said, the Glasgow Clan are really putting on something of a show. Coventry Blaze, who were hot, if you'll remember, starting the season out. The Blaze have really kind of faded, but they're still above the cut. And Guildford Flames also playing well this season, but really still having a hard time competing against the top four. And that's where they tend to lose their points, is that top four. And so, Richard, I'm going to throw it back to you, but that's bangers and mash for this episode.
Now, my question is, I know how good the Belfast Giants are, and we've been talking about them for seasons upon end. They just seem to be right there at the top of the
Right.
league. Um, is this clinching of the playoff spot, is this more of how well they've been playing, or has this been the crumbling of the Cardiff Devils? Because now, like you said, they're in the fourth spot. When
Yeah.
2 weeks ago when we met, they were what,
Right.
4 points behind Belfast?
Yes. Yes. No, this is Belfast playing this well. They are just a solid team. They're not really blowing out any of the opposition except maybe Manchester or the Fife Flyers, who just have a hard time right now competing. Uh, but this is against, again, they're beating the Sheffield Steelers, who have been on a run to put themselves into second spot in the ladder. And so, Belfast, yeah, to answer your question more directly and succinctly, they are just a good team and beating everybody.
All right. Well, we'll keep following the rest of the league, as we know Belfast is going to be in the playoff as they clinch their spot this week. We'll be covering the rest of the league as well. Head over to prohockeynews.com and get the latest and the greatest out of the EIHL. Back here in the North American continent, we'll take a look at the standings in the minor leagues, starting with the ECHL. We'll give you a recap of each division, starting with the North Division, and a team we'll be talking about here in just a second. Team we talked about last week as well. Giving you a wrap of your top four. The Trois Lions on top of the division with 71 points. The Wheeling Nailers in the number 2 spot with 62 points. The Norfolk Admirals in number 3 spot with 59 points. And the Worcester Railers rounding out your top four with 52 points. In the South Division, we have the Florida Everblades still on top of the division, 76 points. South Carolina Stingrays holding their own with 76 points in that number 2 spot. The Jacksonville Icemen in the number 3 spot with 66 points. And the Orlando Solar Bears in that number 4 spot with 64 points. Going over to the Western Conference in the Central Division, we have the Toledo Walleye On top with 71 points, the Iowa Heartlanders in the number 2 spot with 63 points. The Fort Wayne Comets in the number 3 spot with 62 points. And the Indy Fuel, there's a little separation between the 3rd and 4th spot. Indy Fuel in that number 4 spot with 47 points. In the Mountain Division, we have the Kansas City Mavericks maintaining their lead with 69 points. The Tahoe Night Monsters, who were briefly on top of the division a few weeks ago, now in the number 2 spot with 62 points. The Wichita Thunder in that number 3 spot with 62 points. And the Tulsa Oilers, hey, why don't we make it a trifecta, also with 62 points in that number 4 spot. Okay, Lou,
Yes.
last week we talked about the Poitiers Lions and
Yes.
about how well they were doing and thinking, okay, well, we are going to get a lot of angry emails, angry blue skies. I forget what they call blue sky messages, angry skies. I don't know.
Posts.
Uh,
Yeah, just posts.
Posts sent to us from the fans of the Lions because we had talked about them and they were eventually going to cool off. Well, you know what? Rest assured, Lions fans, that did not happen. In fact, they are on a 4-game winning streak as of the recording of this on February 21st, Friday, February 21st. 4-game winning streak. They are 8-2-0 in their last 10. Lou, is there any stopping the Lions right now?
No, as long as the check's clear.
That's true.
As long as the check's clear for us, we're in good shape here. Um, uh, was that 2 weeks ago? And what we noted was the balanced scoring from both offense and the forwards as well as the defense. But the one thing I was impressed with, since we decided to focus on the Lions again, was the blue line core have solidly plus numbers on their plus minus stat. There's
Mhm.
only one player with a minus, and we won't point out that individual. No point in embarrassing somebody. But you've got a couple that are putting up points, goals, decent number of goals, and some really solid assist work out of the defensive core. And playing solid defense again. I mean, some of them are plus 22, and nothing has really changed. Nothing negative has happened to either the forwards or the blue line. And then when you get down to the goaltenders, they still are posting a three-headed monster really in net. And the worst is a .911 save percentage and 2.8 goals against average. Um, it's a solid goaltending core backed up with good defense in front of them, and nothing has changed really since in the 2 weeks. Well, except for the 8-2 and what did you say? 8-2, right?
8-2. Yeah.
Eight and
Um,
two run.
Lou, I know you didn't want to name drop, but I sure am going to name drop here.
Okay.
Corey Thomas, what are you doing? -4. Come on, buddy. Okay, he's the only minus on the team, and -4 really isn't that bad. But
No, no, no.
come on, buddy. You,
Yeah,
you got as
pick it
many
up.
goals as you do minus. Just
Yes.
or points. He's got 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points,
Yeah.
-4. I'm just gonna keep rubbing it in because it's nobody really reads too much into those stats. I think they're
I
important, but
I
I don't
do.
know why it gets such a bad rap. I don't
I
know why it
like
gets such a bad rap.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, nothing has changed in the 2 weeks. We did not put the chill finger on them. They have managed to avoid that, and we'll see how it goes until the next 2 weeks.
Yep. We'll check back in again on the 12A Lions. For now, let's move over to the AHL. We'll go through the standings real quick, and then we'll focus in again on a team who spotlighted last time the second line met. But before that, we will go through the Atlantic Division, your top 4 teams. The Hershey Bears on top of the division with 65 points. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins in the number 2 spot with 60 points. The Providence Bruins, I don't know what they're doing this year, but they're hanging around in the number 3 spot with 59 points. And the Charlotte Checkers, in the number 4 spot with 59 points. Going on to the North Division, the Rochester Americans in the number 1 spot with 66 points. The Laval Rockets in the number 2 spot with 65 points. The Toronto Marlies in the number 3 spot with 61 points. And the Cleveland Monsters rounding out your top 4 with 60 points. This is going to be a fun division to watch coming down the line. This is, 4 teams separated by 6 points. This is going to be a really fun one. So be sure to check out the action on prohockeynews.com. In the Central Division, we have the Milwaukee Admirals on top with 59 points. The Texas Stars in the number 2 spot with 57 points. The Grand Rapids Griffins in the number 3 spot with 56 points. And the Chicago Wolves rounding out your top 4 with 52 points. In the Pacific Division, things have gotten a lot tighter here than the last time we checked in. The Calgary Wranglers on top of the division. That hasn't changed, but they have 63 points. The Ontario Reign right on their heels, also with 63 points. The Colorado Eagles with 60 points are in the number 3 spot, and the Coachella Valley Firebirds in that number 4 spot with 60 points. 3 points separating those 4 teams. Another division that's going to be a lot of fun to watch coming down the stretch. Now, a team that we highlighted last time, and a team we're going to highlight again this week, the Henderson Silver Knights. Lou, did our reverse jinx work on them? They were, I believe, 7-2-1 last time we recorded. They are 7-3-0 in their last 10. Did the reverse jinx work?
Yes, and again, the check cleared.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, the Silver Knights, I think have benefited though from, as opposed to the Lions, the Silver Knights have been benefiting from going up against some weaker opponents. And you have to win the games that you're supposed to win, right?
Right.
And so not much has changed in terms of any sort of statistical standout. From the forward blue line or at the goaltending side, but just playing better together and weaker opposition.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. They really need to get their third goalie in line here. I mean, 16 goals allowed in during the season. Empty net is just doing a horrible job there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't. Why are they listing? I know goalies
Why
aren't
is
in there
that
the
a
whole
stat
time,
line?
but yeah, exactly. What? I guess if you want to know how many empty net goals they've given up,
Yeah.
they've given up 16 this year. So, yeah, I mean, they're. I agree. They're doing well because they haven't been facing the toughest competition in the league. I don't know. And it doesn't seem like Vegas is needing to call upon them, so they're keeping that core together. But we'll keep watching them. We'll see
Well,
if oh,
no. Well, what you can see here, though, is why the New Jersey Devils disposed of Akira Schmidt. He's got a 3.56 goals against average. I mean, this is, it's too
yeah.
bad for him. I mean, he had that standout first round where the New Jersey knocked out the Rangers in that 7-game series a couple of seasons ago. And ever since then, he's been, it was literally a flash in the pan. And now he's toiling out in Henderson.
And Lou's not going to forget that loss
Oh,
to New
never.
Jersey. He's
No,
never going to
no,
let that go.
no. That's a burr in my saddle. Thanks for
Well,
reminding me.
no, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, there we go. There's our recap of the minor leagues, the AHL, the ECHL. We'll be keeping tabs on those over at prohockeynews.com. Head over there for the latest action of all the leagues around the world. Again, we're not just NHL news, we are hockey around the world. Speaking of other leagues, Jacob, what do you have
Yes.
going on in the PWHL corner this week?
The PWHL is coming back strong. They were in Edmonton actually not too long ago. I wish I was able to go, but I sadly was not. But a lot of changes in standings. So the New York Sirens have actually came back and are now tied for second place in the BWHL. So that's pretty good. And they've been winning a lot as of late. Remember last time when I said there was not much scoring? Well, scoring has picked up a lot.
3 or
Most
4x.
notably, I think this is a PWHL record, an 8-3 win from
Yep.
Ottawa against Minnesota
Yeah.
on the 13th. And yeah, that game was crazy. But other than that win, Ottawa has just been losing in overtime a lot. And as a result, they've fallen very far down in the standings and have not been able to keep up. So now you have this really tight midsection with Toronto, the Toronto Raptors, the Minnesota Frost, and the Boston Fleet. And they're all separated by 1 point, with Boston having one game in hand over Toronto and Minnesota. So we'll see if Boston can get past them. A big game, I believe, will be the Toronto and Minnesota game on this Sunday. And Boston will be playing the New York Sirens, who have really just bottomed out in the league. They've not been playing well at all. But Hannah Miller for Toronto has been a major, major reason why Toronto has been has resurged from their early brutal start to the season. And now they're second place, or tied for second, rather. And yeah, other than that, not much going on. Well, there's a lot going on, but
No,
not much to report.
Exciting to see Toronto actually turn it up after the the slow start they got to this season, and seeing that their top three players are in the top five in the league in points right now. Hannah Miller with 22 points, Daryl Watts with 18 points, and Renata Fast with 17 points. Yeah, it's they're starting to click a little bit more. They're starting to get a little bit more offense, and they're obviously overcoming an early season slow start, which is what I love to see in any league, especially when there's six teams going on. There's gonna be you're either going to have a big shakeup mid-season, which I really love to see, or you're going to have just stagnant standings. And I think this is great for the league to see this kind of shakeup from bottom to second place right now. So yeah, we'll keep watching what's going on in the P-Dub as we move on in their second season, their first season with team names and logos and just overall great uniforms. All right. NHL news, guys. NHL news. Well, we've been on a break for a couple of weeks from the NHL, except for there's the Four Nations something or other that happened. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to it. I lied. Okay. So we all know Canada came away with the gold in the Four Nations tournament, 3-2 overtime win over Team USA, who going in seemed to be favored. Canada did what Canada does and pulls out a gold medal in international competition over the U.S. So, seeing how we're split here, we've got four people on this line this week. We got two Canadians, two Americans. I think I'll open the floor first to the Canadians. I want to get Jacob was ready for this. He was telling me he was going to gloat. Jacob, here's your time to gloat. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for both giving Connor McDavid that much room in the slot and for the Four Nations Cup. It was really great. It was great hockey all around.
So, how much did Toronto pay Austin Matthews to not cover Connor McDavid?
I don't think it's the Toronto Maple Leafs that are paying him. I think he just does that.
No, I'm sure it was the city of Toronto because that is the center of the hockey universe. Is that correct, Nicholas?
Oh,
That is correct.
And also where he plays and where he lives while he's playing. So there's some Toronto dirty money in there, right?
Well, I mean, he got lost in the eyes of Mitch Marner, but I mean, who wouldn't? Like,
Nicholas, your take on the tournament. Obviously, you're happy with the results.
Of course.
What's your reaction to the tournament as a whole?
Honestly, I'm a little bit worried for now what the hockey's going to be like after. Because we saw so much fast-paced, hard-hitting hockey. It was playoff hockey for a good, what, 4 or 5 games?
Hmm.
It's season playoff hockey, and I don't think we're going to see that throughout the rest of the season. I hope we do. Don't get me wrong. I hope we do.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like that was just that type of play for that tournament, and it's just going to go back to, you know,
Uh,
mediocre.
my big worry for this tournament and how it was played, not that I am upset with how, like, as a fan watching it, I was thrilled that we were going to see this through an exhibition tournament. But as a fan watching this, I'm a little concerned about how the league is going to move on, move forward, and kind of what the owners are thinking about this. Because now we've had some injuries during the tournament, and now some key players are going to be missing from their teams who weren't playing for their teams. Um, Lou, what do the owners have to be thinking about when this tournament pops up in another 2 years?
They're going to be thinking about how much money they made this time.
Okay.
And that's uh, sorry to be Debbie Downer about it, but that's what this is about. More jerseys were sold. Um, um, More games were televised. They made all sorts of pushes to get the lint out of our pockets. But I'm not bitter.
Lou, did you buy one of the jerseys?
No, 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 not at all. I mean, if I'm buying another jersey in my life, it's gonna be the victory.
Oh yeah.
Um, I, but seriously, if we think of this as what it is, it's a business, then the owners are going to have to look and see what the return on investment project out for the next 2 years. McAvoy is gone, right?
Hmm.
They're going to have to do a triage. And what's the assessment of the injuries? And which teams are going to lose position in the standings because of those losses? Because in the end, it's the playoffs that make the big dollars.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was thinking when it comes to this tournament and the intensity in which they played. We're going to be seeing this tournament again in non-Olympic years. And it seems to be more of a, not kind of a training ground, but like kind of a demo area for the league to see if they're ready to get back into the Olympics. They've already committed, so that doesn't really matter. But maybe trying to adjust for injuries that happen during the Olympics because that's going to happen no matter what. Um, but yeah, it concerns me for players who aren't going to be competing in this tournament and seeing, some of their teammates get injured. And now maybe they don't have as great of a shot in making the playoffs as they did before. Like if like you'd mentioned, Charlie McAvoy, although I already said this on this podcast, Bruins aren't making the playoffs this year. They're cooked. They have too many games to make up, too many points to make up. Um, so I think they're done. They're out of the top eight. But if they were in a playoff spot here, this is a huge blow to their blue line, and I could easily see them dropping out of a playoff spot if they weren't out of one already. But other than that, Lou,
Yes.
your thoughts on this tournament? Was it good, bad for the game, indifferent?
I th just take the answer for what it is. And my answer is that I thought it's bad for the sport.
Okay.
And let's just leave it at that, okay?
Okay.
Um, I really don't want to go into it. It's got, I'm I'm happy Canada won. It was sort of that, come from behind kind of thing. It was having to qualify after the US did, uh, and McDavid getting the overtime goal, I thought was terrific. But um, I think by and large, it's bad for the sport.
Okay. Um, I'm still with indifferent about this. I liked the play. I don't like the injuries. Um, I still don't like that it doesn't mean anything, and I really don't like mid-season tournaments, but it was entertaining to watch. And 9.3 million other people found the same thing during the championship game. That's how many people watched the Four Nations Championship, which is better than any of the outdoor games that the NHL's put on, better than the All-Star games that the NHL's put on. So, as as far as growth of the sport and exposure, I think that this was better for, I don't, it was good for the sport, better for the league, I guess is what I would say. In that respect, the league got some exposure. The game got a lot of exposure to an audience who was not getting their basketball fix from the NBA because they were also on their All-Star break. And from what I hear, they weren't terribly thrilled about their All-Star game. All right. So those are our reactions to to the Four Nations, cut, dry, trimmed up, nice and neat. If you would like to be trimmed up nice and neat and looking good, feeling good, you can head over to our friends Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com/pro hockey news. Save yourself 20% off your purchase and get feeling nice, feeling good, and looking good, just like Dr. Lou Lafredo. All right. Other news in the hold on, let me pull up the correct tab here. I changed tabs here. In the QMJHL, we have a new Rookie of the Year trophy. It's not a new trophy, but it is under a new name. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Sidney Crosby. Kind of a big deal, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. Uh, the QMJHL has just renamed their Rookie of the Year trophy to the Sidney Crosby Trophy. Um, Jacob, as our ranking Canadian on the podcast, do you like the move before he's left the NHL, before he's finished his professional career, or are you just all for it?
Well, the QMJHL is a completely different league, right? And it's a
Right.
junior league, so I think it's completely reasonable. I don't know if they should have done it at this time, maybe during the off season or at the start of the next season, where he can, they can do a nice big event with him. But overall, I think it's well deserved. Sidney Crosby left a very big impact on the QMJHL.
Yeah, well, I was kind of wondering, like, wait until he finishes his professional career, wait until he's retired, then yes, he could be there fully invested to maybe present the very first one or be there at, whatever event where they unveil the name or like, oh, hey, it's the new Sidney Crosby Rookie of the Year trophy. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously the guy's got a great legacy, a great name. Everybody associates it with, the many leagues, the leagues in which he has played. He has just shown natural talent from early on. But yeah, I do question the timing of this and, his ability to be as involved as maybe some of us would like. Nicholas, you're the one who had spotted this earlier this week. Um, your thoughts on the renaming of the trophy?
I do agree that the timing is a bit weird. Middle of the season just seems a little bit off, but it is deserved. I do have a question for you guys. So
Hmm.
Crosby played, sorry, I'm just pulling it up real quick because I had the stats. Crosby played I think it was 102 games in the QMJHL. How many points do you guys think he got in 2 seasons?
Oh, sorry, 102, 102
It was
games?
102, yeah, 100, 101, sorry, 101, 101.
Okay, 101. Uh, how many points? I will go. Do you want to give us an over under at like 100 or
Let's go over under 230.
over under two? Okay, so I was thinking way too low, obviously. I am gonna go over.
Okay. Lou,
I'm I'll go over as well.
Jacob.
Absolutely over.
Yeah, so he tripled it.
Oh, well, I was thinking
Well,
way too low because I was thinking like 120.
oh,
Yeah,
I had 180.
he tripled his points to game ratio.
Jeez.
Wow.
So very deserving.
Okay. Shows how much I paid attention to him when he was in that league.
So,
Wow.
Nicholas, you've got the stats there. Was it consistent over the 2 years?
Yeah, the first year was sorry, I didn't actually have the stats. I was going based off the min rate.
Oh,
I know
okay.
the first year was 150, 58 or around there, and the second year
So,
was
yeah. So,
163.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
basically, so interesting that he spent 2 years in the juniors in Quebec.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Who did he skate for?
Rimouski. I think that's how you say that
Oh,
name.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Oceanic.
Rimouski. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was wild when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
He was in his first year, he was almost a goal a game at 54 goals in 59 games. In his second year, he was over a goal per game at 66 goals in 62 games. Uh, his second year is where he really exploded in assists at 102 assists. His first year, a measly 81 assists. So, wow.
Yeah.
Dang. And, 84 penalty minutes to boot. So, in his second year.
And also the legacy that you left behind, he really helps upgrade the quality of the QMJHL
Yeah.
because it was really just the OHL at that time and the WHL early on that were just the main two junior leagues. He
Right.
really made the QMJHL just so much more competitive.
They really didn't compete well for the cup, did they? Out of any team out
Memorial
of
Cup,
the
yeah,
Memorial Cup out of the queue.
yeah. I mean, they had some
Now,
teams. Now they're always one of the stronger.
right.
It's really competitive,
Hmm.
except with some teams. Some of the bottom teams are unfortunately really far behind.
Yeah.
But in general, there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah. Cool.
And then he went on and did some things in the NHL.
Yeah, a
You know,
couple of things.
couple
Yeah.
things.
Nothing to write home about.
not not
If
not
if
three
he didn't
cups or
hadn't done
anything.
yeah, if he hadn't done anything in juniors, I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about
Exactly.
him.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
send your
So,
hate mail to Jacob at post office.
all right. So congratulations to Sidney Crosby. Just another piece of your legacy living on through your career. All right. Um, Jacob,
Yes.
I think it's about time to make some predictions.
Oh yes, the picks of the week. Okay. So last week actually we did pretty well. Um, Lou went 3-3. Richard and I both went 4-2.
Wow.
So we did great. The big game, you guys both got correct. The big football game. Uh, you were I was very wrong on that, but you know, hopefully this week I can continue to catch up to Richard here because I'm only 3 games back. So first game, Minnesota at Detroit. Nicholas, would you like to go first?
I'm gonna take Minnesota on that one.
Okay. Lou, I'll go back to you.
Yeah, I'll take Minnesota as well.
Okay. Richard?
I'm gonna have to make. Well, it depends on who you pick, but I'm gonna have to so far make it unanimous. I'm gonna take Minnesota.
I'm going to go different. Dylan Larkin played great.
Yeah, but he's all tired.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He has
Lucas
one
Raymond
rest.
had some rest.
Oh yeah, that's true. And Detroit's a good young team. I think they can definitely take one because Kaprizov, I believe, is still not back, nor is he skating, which is going to be a bit of a problem for them. Next game, probably the game of the night, could be a game of the night between this and the next one. Dallas at the New Jersey Devils. Nicholas, I'm going to start with you again.
Just to go against Keith, I'm taking Dallas.
Okay. And Richard.
These two teams are pretty evenly matched. Dallas 15-11-1 on the road. New Jersey 15-9-4 at home. But I'm gonna take New Jersey in this one.
Okay. And Lou.
Dallas, please.
I'm going to agree. I think Dallas has it. Thomas Harley really came out of nowhere for me and played brilliant for Team Canada. Also, very surprised Team USA did not take Jason Robertson. That's just me, though. Carolina at the Toronto Maple Leafs. Potential game of the week as well, or game of the night. Nicholas, starting with you.
My hometown, the Maple Leafs.
Okay. Lou.
Wow. Coming off the break. You know what? Give me the Maple Leafs as well.
Yes, Lou.
Okay, Richard.
I don't like this much positive Leafs talk on this podcast. I'm gonna go with the Hurricanes.
Gotta do it like that.
Okay. And I'll also go with the Canes. I think they're just built so deep. I think they'll beat Toronto. And also a lot of the Maple Leafs players are probably also going to be a bit on the tired side. It's not like there's anyone else except for the 3 players that went to the for Team Canada and the US.
Yeah.
Next game, Utah at LA. Nicholas.
Oh, that's a bit of a closer one for me. I'm gonna edge with the Kings, I think. I know Utah's been grinding it out recently, but I think a Kings edge this one.
Okay, Richard.
I'm gonna go with the Kings as well. 17-3-2 at home. I'll take that.
Okay, Lou.
Ditto.
Okay, I guess I'll have to make it unanimous. Final NHL game, Montreal at Ottawa. Nicholas.
Ottawa.
Lou.
Yikes.
Okay, I'll just type yikes.
Wait a minute. Did you pick one for me?
I just said yikes.
Oh, yeah, give me Ottawa.
Okay. Richard.
Let's see. When is that meteor supposed to hit?
2032, I believe.
I'll take Ottawa.
Okay. I will take Montreal. I think some of the young kids are going to be pissed off they didn't get taken to the Four Nations Cup, especially one Cole Caulfield. And the PWHL game, another Montreal at Ottawa. I don't know how they're going to do this. Both are being played in the same rink. But yeah, PWHL. Nicholas, who do you got?
Montreal. I mean, you can't go against the top.
Yeah, this is the only PWHL game on Saturday. So, Lou,
Victory.
okay. Richard,
Give me the Charge.
Oh,
hey,
They got something going.
I'm going to pick Montreal as always. But thank you for making it not unanimous so I can catch up.
Well, Ottawa's the one who put up 8 goals on Minnesota. They could
Yeah, and
do the
then
same to Montreal.
No,
Would
they
you
can't.
would you say they're on the charge?
They are on the
oh,
They're charged up
off
and
with
ready to
you.
go.
exactly. You're gonna eat those words in 2 weeks, Jacob.
I probably will. I probably will. And that's it for the picks. If you'd like to
Skip forward
follow
2 weeks,
along,
they pull up a snowman.
Wow. Boy, snark from both ends of the continent here, huh?
Right? Wow.
their job.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Okay.
Take us out of this
Okay.
segment.
If you'd like to follow along, follow us on Blue Sky at what is the handle?
PHN Podcast
PHN Podcast
and Pro Hockey News.
and Pro Hockey News.
And
On
use the
Blue Sky.
hashtag PHN picks.
That
Yes.
too. Are they
And
called-
Jacob.
Are they still
Jacob.
called hashtags?
yeah, but let's be sure that people know. I now have, I think, 5 bobbleheads coming in from our trusty folks at FOCO in New Jersey. As soon as they are produced, I'll be getting 5. And so as the season winds down, we're going to be able to give some of these away to listeners.
All right. Be on the lookout for the bobbleheads. We'll come up with a good name for the giveaway. Like, yeah, I got nothing right now, but we'll come up with something. It'll be better than the PWHL corner, which I still need to come up with a better name.
Go FOCO yourself.
Okay.
That's mine. That's my option.
All right. While we're in that mood, parting thoughts. Lou, let's start with you.
It's great to have Nicholas here. It's great to have that extra voice, and so I'm really pleased to see him here. And we have some other things that are planned over the next month or so for release, and look forward to that in the future.
All right. Jacob, Snarky Canadian, number 1.
When I don't know about Nicholas, but I was watching the hockey game between Canada and the US at the Real Canadian Brewhouse because I'm just a stereotype, I guess. And there were at least 300 or so people cheering on Team Canada, and it was great. And also, one of the things that I think really makes hockey great is there were beside us, at the table next to us, were a bunch of people from Lebanon who didn't know a single thing about hockey. And they were so into it. By the end of it, they were cheering and screaming. It was a great time all around. And I'm really glad that they got to see that moment because they were just there for dinner. They had no idea what was about to happen because the place was packed to the brim. And it was one of those 2-story places, bars.
Oh, yeah.
So it was crazy and it was great.
That's
so
great.
Did you buy them around?
we bought each other around.
All right. Fantastic. That's what I love to do when I find like a mismatched fan or somebody who's maybe not it doesn't really know what they're doing there. Buy them a drink, make a friend.
Yeah.
Love making friends over hockey because it's just a fantastic sport.
Guess what beer I bought for them?
Molson.
Of course.
Oh, okay. All right.
Molson Canadian.
Or Labatt, I guess.
Ew, no.
You know Molson's owned by Coors, right?
We don't talk.
We don't talk about that.
It's brewed here in Colorado.
We don't talk about that, Richard. But they actually they do have breweries in Canada, I believe. I do believe.
Yeah, they do. All right. Nicholas, your thoughts this week.
What Jacob just talked about is the definition of Canada. What I didn't like was them booing the anthem. That was the biggest thing which I think is directly related to people from Montreal, but that's just
Honestly, I think Bowie would have happened no matter where in Canada you host it, just because of the political climate.
fair. But
Yeah.
again, still don't think it's right. We're not those types of people.
Fair enough. my parting thought this week. I have a decision to make tomorrow morning. I will be single parenting with Philip, the future producer of the podcast, and I have a couple of things lined up, and I'm not sure which one to do. We have the option of going to go see an Avs practice tomorrow morning at Family Sports. They're going to be bright and early. I think it's a 7 o'clock practice tomorrow morning. Thinking about doing that, but there's also Evergreen Lake just west of us that is reopened because it was too warm before. It is now refrozen over. Go get some ice skating and some stick drills in with him. Or we can do absolutely nothing. I don't know. I'm torn. One, because I have a late hockey game tonight at 10 o'clock because
Eesh.
beer league. And I don't know if I'm going to be functioning for an 8 o'clock practice to go watch the Avs, but all I have to do is watch and not participate. The other one is more physical, but it's later in the morning. They don't open until 9. I have a dilemma. I'm sure I'll figure it out, but that is my dilemma and my parting thought this week. Thank you again, listeners, for listening to this episode of the Pro Hockey News Podcast, the second line edition. Thank you to My Custom Sports Chair, Manscaped, LDE Affinity Jewelry, and FOCO for sponsoring this podcast. Thanks to Dr. Lou Lafredo, Jacob Doherty, and Nicholas for joining us here on the podcast this week. And thank you, listeners, for making us a part of your routine. I will see everybody on the first line next week.